Since 2017, representatives of the Syrian government, as well as militia leaders, have convened in Kazakhstan to engage in negotiations aimed at implementing a lasting ceasefire agreement. Labeled the Astana talks, the most recent round of negotiations were held from Tuesday to Thursday in the Kazakh capital of Nur-Sultan. Russia, Iran, and Turkey serve as guarantors of the agreement. Russia and Iran support Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, while Turkey backs opposition forces in the region. Although the situation on the ground has been relatively calm for the last 15 months, intermittent attacks still occur, such as the June 12th shelling of the opposition-held city of Afrin, which resulted in 13 casualties. Although the talks fell short of producing tangible results, Russia defended its interests by calling for increased international aid to be delivered to the Assad regime, all the while trying to stop humanitarian crossings into opposition-held territory along the Turkish border. In the long term, the process is unlikely to provide a sustainable peace solution due to the exclusion of key rebel militant factions such as the Islamic Front and the Syrian Democratic Forces, and due to the persistence of divisions between settlement guarantors. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting on Thursday to discuss the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The dam, which has been in operation since last year, has the potential to affect water flow to downstream Nile countries Egypt and Sudan. The meeting came amidst flaring tensions between Ethiopia and Egypt after Addis Ababa recommended filling the dam without Cairo's consent. Egypt has demanded Ethiopia fill the dam over 7 years to ward off potential water shortages, but Ethiopia has stated it will shorten it to 5 years to make use of its hydroelectric generation sooner. However, experts have determined that the dam will not have a significant impact on the Nile's downstream states if Egypt and Ethiopia cooperate. Instead, Cairo's opposition likely stems from an erosion of Egypt's Nile River hegemony. Expect the UN Security Council to urge Egypt and Ethiopia to resume negotiations under the auspices of the UN or African Union. Both sides will likely return to talks in the short term, but an agreement is unlikely to be reached anytime soon, as Ethiopia continues to fill the dam in hopes of pressuring Egypt into concessions at the negotiating table. Wednesday saw the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse in his home at the hands of armed mercenaries whose motivations remain unclear. Haitian police have stated there are 28 suspects in total, most of them Colombian nationals. 17 of the suspects have already been arrested, 3 have been killed, and 8 are still unaccounted for. Many of the suspects had fled to the Taiwanese diplomatic compound in Port-au-Prince when police were allowed to detain them early Thursday morning. After failed parliamentary elections in 2019, Moïse has largely ruled by decree, drawing regular protests against what was increasingly viewed as autocratic rule in a country where 60% of the population lives on less than $2 per day.
Earlier this week, transport unions and other workers went on a 2-day strike denouncing institutional violence and an alarming rise in kidnappings. Human rights groups say at least 1,000 people were kidnapped in 2020.
Mounting criminal activity has sparked unrest that's displaced almost 15,000 people, and the turmoil shows no signs of stopping. The first round of Haitian general elections are due to be held on September 26th. Nevertheless, acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph, who is expected to be Haiti's de facto leader and enjoys support from the UN, has insisted that the elections will take place.